All right, we are live, and welcome to the 2026 podcast. Um, so, what we have for this year as our topic is I want to explore and allow you to meet other people who are going through spiritual transformation or have gone through a spiritual transformation to show you what does that look like. And I hope I'm not going to freeze because it looks like I'm freezing a lot. But the topic for 2026 is to invite the people that I know that have been mentors and guides for other people and allow them to share their experiences and how they learn to use their abilities and normalize this experience to everybody. So you guys know that I'm not unique and there's only me who can do these things. And so you get to meet a whole bunch of other people that can do that as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Lorelei Potvin. So Lorelei has a very amazing bio, so I'll share that with you and I'll introduce her right now to the stage. And am I frozen? It looks like I'm completely frozen.
No, just so you know, and it's not your fault, it's Laura Lee.
Laura Lee, yes, sorry.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's the way my name is spelled.
Hello, everyone. There's already people commenting. So I hope I'm not freezing because my image is totally freezing on my backstage here, but I'm hoping everything's fine on the other end. So Laura Lee is a Canadian psychic. She's a medium. She also works with Crystal Reiki. She's a master. She's a medical intuitive. She's an energy healer. She works with the Akashic Records. She's an Akashic Record practitioner. She's a spiritual teacher, but she's also on the internet digital radio host and podcaster. And that's on United Public Radio Network. And she has a show called The Angel Rock, and she co-hosts on Thursday nights live Beneath the Hollow Moon, which I really, really like that one. I like the other one too, but this new one is I really like it. There's real magic between the co-hosts, and it's a fantastic one. And you can follow Lorelei on her Facebook or her YouTube, so you can easily find her. She is a budding animal communicator. And she used to be. You're retired now from the registered nurse, I believe, right?
I still use it every single day. So I say retired. Disabled, but not working physically. Use it every other way though. Every day.
All right. So and she is well versed in NDEs. So for everybody out there, that would be near-death experiences, right? And she has been studying professionally and personally for over 40 years. Yep. So out of all that, we're going to try and circle it down a bit for our guests. But and just, I mean, you've been on this journey for quite some time now. When would you say, how long have you been on this journey? Is that the 40 years?
No, actually, I became aware of my gifts probably, almost probably 35 years. But I've known as I put the pieces together later in life that I've been doing this my whole life. You and I are friends. You've been on the Angel Rock many times, and we've talked personally and publicly on my show too about, talking to ancestors and things as a small child. And, I realize now as a little kiddo, my first paranormal experience, I was probably 3.5, 4. But I remember talking to my guides at the end of my bed. Like they told me the names of my children, that I was going to have boys, like so many things. So it's been around me my whole life.
So hang on, I'm just trying to hook up the podcast, and it's giving me
well, I can talk.
I'm just trying to.
I can talk if you want. You're messing with, because it's hard to talk and mess around with it, isn't it?
Oh, but I was just. So everybody, this is my first time having a guest on the show. As you know, I usually do this on my own, and I may have guests in the audience, but I've never had to invite people live on the show, and so that's a whole different experience. So I'm a little nervous. I have to admit.
Don't be nervous.
So I'm just trying to. I don't want to do a live screen because we have very poor internet, and I'm afraid if I do a live pod being at the same time, it's just not going to work, right? So,
Okay.
and my phone died at Christmas, so now I have a new phone, and it's telling me I didn't have the proper authorization, and I'm like, oh,
Oh
come on.
no. Yeah, because I don't see, well, I don't know what I see for you, right? Because I'm used to producing, so I get to see everything. So I just see my two platforms, and I'm going to say hi to Vet Girl. Hi, Vet Girl. Nice to see you.
There
She's
you
one of our
go.
that pops in for UPRN. And I was going to say too, I have something exciting coming in the new year that I haven't announced yet, but it'll be on
Oh, okay. Give
UPRN.
me a second. Give me a second. Let
Mhm.
me do this, and I'm almost ready, and we'll go now. All right. So tonight's podcast, we have Laura Lee Potvin joining us,
Mhm.
and she is going to share with us the spiritual transformation journey that she's been on. And I think it's going to fascinate everybody because they will maybe realize that when they were young, hey, I thought that was a dream, or I thought that was my imagination, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of people have had those experiences, but because someone else told them, oh, that's your imaginary friend, or, it's all in your head. So we start believing these things because that's what we're being told, right? And then we just brush it off. It's not real, so I can't talk about this. And you kind of shut the door off. So that is so cool that you already knew how many children you're going to have and what name they're going to have, and
Mhm.
you know so
I
I
didn't
want
get all the names, but my middle child, Justin, who very sadly passed away just a year ago, January 15th, um, I knew his name. It was Justin Michael. And my first son, his name is Logan. I don't think he'll mind me saying his name. I wanted to call him Jordan because I was always told I knew the names. And my husband at the time said there was no way he was having a son named anything but Logan. So that's how he got it.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, his soul's name was probably Justin, right?
Yeah, I knew.
When I meet people sometimes, I call them by a completely different name, and they're looking at me, they're like, that's not my name. And I'm like, well, when I knew you in a past life, that was your name, and that's who I recognize when I see you. So I said,
Right.
I'm sorry. And throughout this course, I remember it was the Akashic course I was teaching. And this lady says, oh my gosh, I see this past life, and you're right. And I see you and I see me. And so everything kind of connected and came together. And so now she hyphenates her name with the two names.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
tell me, most of us had a moment where we felt things were different, and we could see other things that other people couldn't see, or hear
Mhm.
things that other people couldn't. So when did it all start for you?
I think when it really I started the spiritual journey before this started, and I was starting just with angel cards. But my previous home, I was still with my first husband at the time, and we started having some very strange activity, strange things. He had a personality change, just was depressed all the time, didn't want anything to do with the family. Our marriage broke up in that home. But like things like, you think you know where your keys are always, right? Say if they're at the front door, you'd see them, you'd go bend down to put your shoes on, stand up, keys are gone. Where'd the keys go? Am I going crazy? So you're looking all around the house for them, and you think, okay, I guess I'm not going out. So maybe an hour or two later, you go back to the door to pick up the flyers or the mail. There's your keys, exactly where you left them. So what actually happened to me was this extreme paranormal experience that we went through. And having a scientific type mind, I was like, what the heck is going on here? Like, why are these things happening? Trying to understand. We were looking for help because it was quite violent, a lot of the things we went through. My partner, well, hubby for all intents and purposes, I've been with him for 17 years, but we started experiencing little things again, like with my first husband. Then it got more and more violent and active. We started to see things, smell things, hear things, scratches, bites, burns, you name it. And the big thing for me was, I was still with my first husband as I'm rambling here. Um, we had just watched the movie The Secret. When the book came out, The Secret, there was a documentary, and my back was very bad at that time, and I couldn't get out very much. I'll try and make this short. So I the next day, and every store I went to locally, because I'm always crafting, creating things, and talking to people, they all wanted to carry my merchandise, but nobody wanted like a fee to carry it. And I remember coming home to my ex-husband telling him this, like, what the heck? Like, nobody wants to charge me. They just want to sell my things for me and give me all the money. And he was jokingly saying to me, oh, it must have been the secret. He. Well, I went to bed that night, had the most horrific type dream that feels like it was 10 minutes ago. I won't get into it because it can be a bit dark. But the things I had been told in this dream, I actually ended up finding confirmation right down to the name, the spelling, animal form, everything, a couple of years later when I was trying to help somebody else with a paranormal experience. So for me, I would say that's my big aha confirmation moment, that everything I'm seeing and experiencing and obviously receiving, there's something to this. It's not just, serendipity. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, obviously, right? So, but how
Mm-hmm.
long would you say that when was your first outside the box experience?
Okay, 3, almost 4 years old. We lived in this home at the time. So I was born in 65. So this would have been about 1968, 1969. It was thundering and lightning out. It was the middle of the night. My family was sound asleep. And all of a sudden, the wind's howling. There's rain going on. I'm hearing this scratching on my window. And I was on the second floor. Now, this house was so old at that time. I remember my mother steaming the wallpaper off to get to the plaster. 37 layers of wallpaper she steamed off to get to it. That's how old that was. So I'm sitting there. I'm terrified. And I knew my mother would kick my butt if I got out of bed because it was raining and thundering. So I'm laying there, and the scratching, all of a sudden I swear, I noticed it was like claws coming down my window. And I remember I was going with my covers up to my eyes going, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me. And I still remember to this day, something pinched me on my backside. So that was my first experience of experiencing and seeing things that I can remember way back then.
Okay, that was pretty bad though.
I know, but
That's pretty scary.
I've had scary paranormal, never mind about my guides being at the end of my bed. Like when I was almost 8 years old, we moved into a brand new home. I swear, every night, it happened about a couple months after the house was built and we moved in, at 3 a.m. I knew nothing about the paranormal. I knew nothing about anything. I would wake up unable to breathe. And they finally diagnosed me with asthma about 6 months later. I was terrified to go to sleep, and it was not asthma. I could not get a breath in or a breath out. Don't know why.
Now, that this is very interesting because I
That's why
literally went through the same thing in Peru, and it lasted for 3 months. Every time I'd go to lay down, that was it. I couldn't breathe anymore. So I didn't realize you went through something like that.
Mm-hmm. We don't usually talk about my story right when you come on my show. I'm going to say hi to Heidi Gall. I want to give her a huge shout out. She promotes all of us on UPRN, so thank you, Heidi, for being here too. No, so you know what that's like, right? And
yeah,
I remember
terrifying.
911. And I just remember my father scooping me up and hearing my mother screaming his name, going, "Oh my God, she's turning blue again," and rushing me. As soon as we got about a block away from the house, my dad would put in the back of the car. I could breathe. And I mean, and you don't want to go to sleep because you know what's going to happen. It was
you see, that's interesting because for me, it didn't matter where I was. I mean, I was in Peru. I was in Cusco at first, and couldn't breathe. So I ended up in the hospital for a whole week, and then it was time for me to come home. And I honestly wanted to come home because I was like, you know what? And they were running tests, and they couldn't figure out. They thought at first I had asthma, and then it wasn't it, and then I had pneumonia, but that wasn't it. Nothing was working. So finally I got away from there and I could breathe a little easier, but again, I swear I had PTSD. Every time I go to lay down, I would freak out and panic, like I can't breathe again. And I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks because I was like, every time I lay down, I was afraid, okay, maybe this is the time I'll choke and not wake up. Yep. So what do you think was preventing you from breathing? Because now I'm very curious.
Okay, so my thoughts are, and I always said I never want, before even all the paranormal, when I first started hanging out with my now partner in life, I remember saying to him very specifically, because we really bonded. It was nice to be able to talk about these spiritual things. Like I had already taken certified angel card reading course with then Doreen Virtue, who was involved with this. Like, you know, it really was loving this aspect. And I said, I only want to deal with the light. I only want the positive stuff. That's why I'm not doing anything else. And he said these words to me, I will never forget. He goes, Laura, if you're going to be working in this field, you need to know both in order to know the difference. So I don't know if there was something dark around me that's been around me. I don't know. But like you said, I've had some scary experiences. I know I'm not unique. I've talked to other people that end up sort of in our field, right, that have had these experiences, and all of them have been quite dark, which has gotten me to the place where I am today, like working in the field.
I mean, I think this is my personal take on it. I think that for most people, it's rainbows and unicorns.
Yes.
But when, you know, so I don't want to scare anyone out there. But
the majority, it's rainbows and unicorns. Yes.
It's rainbow, unicorns, butterfly, you know, it's not the harsh thing. But I think that when you come to a certain point, when you have to assist and teach and guide other people, then you're right. We have to know, okay, how do I deal with this? You know, and I really think that a lot of my personal experience happened to me, so I can't judge people. You know what I mean? Because been there, done that. You know, it's not me that's going to judge you. It's not me that's going to say, oh, that was bad. You shouldn't do this. That's, you know, I was there. It's not a mistake. It was just the path, and you stumble and you got back up, and, you know, that's just what it is, right? So I personally think that everything that's happened to me has really helped me to keep a very open mind and be very welcoming to anybody who comes to work with me. Because, you know, nothing really has surprises me. So I'm not surprised that I couldn't breathe, but I'm just surprised you had the same experience, right? So,
well, we don't get to talk about this kind of stuff. I was just going to add, because I'd like to also say, to encourage everybody, when you were talking at the beginning of the show, right? And, you know, people will tell us when we're little, it's just an imaginary friend. It's just your imagination. And, you know, your authority figures in your life, your whole world, whether they're great or not, or wonderful, some parents aren't so great. But where I'm going is they're the people that you learn from early in life, right? But my whole point where I'm going with this is, you haven't forgotten this. I truly believe every child, especially small children, animals, you can do this kind of thing. Communicate with animals, communicate with spirit, communicate with the other side. So guess what? If you're feeling that calling, explore it, because it's like riding a bike. You connect with teachers. I say work with a multitude of different teachers, because you know what? It's within every single person, I believe, on the planet here. We have these abilities.
Definitely. I think that it's just like learning to read or learning to write and count. You just need someone to show you how, and everybody has the ability to do it, right? I went to Korea last year, and I learned to read and write Korean. I mean,
that's cool.
It's not that hard. You just need someone to sit down with you and explain it to you, and you can learn. So I really think that mediumship and animal communication and all these other things that we can do, access the Akashic record and stuff, it's just you don't know how to get there. But once you know how to get there, then, you know, it's a pretty easy process. And that's kind of what I want to share this year in the podcast series, is to show other people you can do this. You know, you just need to take the time to learn and apply it.
And never compare yourself to someone else, because I'm still working on a course with my close friend. We kind of got a little waylaid with, you know, personal things I've had going on in my life. But the thing is, right, everybody has unique and incredible gifts. The only person you compare yourself to is your own self. You at least want to meet yourself where you were the day before, if you can improve a little bit each day. But it's a muscle, right? Building on it, working with it, and embrace it all, I always say. So even though I've talked about my experience being very dark, you said the perfect word, Sonia. It is sunshine and rainbows for 90% of people going through this. But embrace it all, because it makes you who you are today. We have these experiences for a reason.
And a lot of people, they come to me because they said, well, when I was young, I could see things, and then I got scared, right? Whatever it was that scared them. Sometimes it's just because you don't know what it is, and that's scary, right? And there's no one in your environment to tell you it's okay. So, I mean, for me, I think the biggest difference between me and most people is that I could see my dead grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, for as far as I can remember, so I could have been 3 or 4, but I could see my grandmother, and she would come in my room every night, so it felt
Mm-hmm.
pretty safe for me.
Yeah.
So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a scary thing, and I honestly thought that she
Uh,
was visiting everybody in the house anyway.
yeah.
I didn't think she just came to see me.
Mm-hmm.
So I I never really talked about it, but to me it was perfectly normal. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And then because of my grandma, that's who took me outside my body, and that's who took me to past lives. She's the one who
Mm-hmm.
took me to the Akashic record. So I'm doing all these things, but I'm with grandma, so
Yeah.
it's not scary. I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah.
And so I have to say, on that way, that's why my experience was different. But I think
Yeah.
that anybody following the teachings that I receive is able to accomplish the same things, right? I
Yeah.
think
Well,
that
go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I
But
think that the biggest thing is that people don't practice. They
yeah, you
go to a
have to.
class, they learn
Mhm.
something, but they don't apply it. It doesn't transfer to their everyday life. And because they don't use it, they forget about it, and then they can't remember how it works, and then it goes down the drain, kind of thing. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you, but the thing I always encourage people, and both of us are teachers, spiritual teachers, mentors, I encourage anybody to work with a whole multitude of different types of teachers and mentors, because there's nothing wrong with just working with one, but then you've just got that one little piece of it where you're working with different people, you're going to learn different techniques, different things, because the big thing, and we're working on this right now, my friend Leanne and I, for our course, because Leanne had a completely different experience than I did with the courses. We met in a group years ago. And, she'll talk about in the course, so I feel comfortable talking about this, but she used to be one of those people where 99% of the class is experiencing something, say in an exercise, or, these were fairly large classes. But then there's people like herself that it was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't get that experience. Like maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I don't have those types, maybe I don't have it. Yeah, you have it, but maybe you just need a little different path or a little different way to open that door for
That's right.
yourself. And hers, I'm going to tell you right now, is music. Like every time there's music, certain song plays, it's like it's, and Leanne, I'm talking about you if you're watching, I hope you don't mind, but key in the door for her. So I think even as teachers and mentors, that's part of our role, is to recognize that and be able to help people. Because if you're there, you belong there. You heard that calling. So you just got to stick it out and find that path to be able to open the doorway for yourself.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think that I've been to classes, and I would attend the classes and it'd be like, this isn't new to me. Right. So I remember I'm disappointed, but at lunchtime, I'm talking to the other people, and they're all fascinated with everything they're learning. And then I realized, okay, well, I had a totally different trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was meditating at 14 when, meditation was not a thing. I was the weird one meditating, right? I was 14 doing that, and everybody's like, what the hell? Let's go party, let's go drink. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I have to do my meditation.
Yeah,
Right?
the hippy dippy chick, right? Like you wanted to meditate. But now, like, okay, so that's another thing I always say. Meditation is our workspace. And sorry, I didn't quite answer your question as I'm thinking back on it, because, you do need to practice, and you can't, it's not like just going to a course one time and just trying something, right? You need to put a little bit of the work in. And believe me, if you open yourself, we call it collectively spirit, but everybody has a whole team behind them, as I know you've talked about many times as well. And just let them know that you're open to it. Spirit's here to help us on this journey. They will work with you. You can set up a dictionary if you want and say, every time I see a pickle, it means this for me. Spirit will work.
Yes.
You just got to meet them halfway. Meditation is your workspace. Once you start it, you will crave it. Like when life gets crazy, it's like, oh my gosh, I need to go meditate.
Well, it's funny because I love the pickle thing, because it's true that, you can get messages from outside or from your own body.
Oh,
Personally,
yeah.
I know that every time my ex-husband and I were getting in a tiff, my liver would hurt. And I'd be like, I have to let that go. And I would go to my, my meditation space, and I was like, I'm letting it go. I forgive him. It's fine. But it was my message. Oh, be careful. You're starting to be resentful there. Right. So it was my cue. So, and I think the other important thing is we have free will, right? And I've had the question a lot. I don't know if you ever had that question, but people are asking me, well, why aren't they helping? Well, if they're there right beside me, why aren't they helping? Why aren't they doing anything? It's because you have free will. They're not allowed to interfere. If you choose to go drink and drive, they'll be going, no, but you're not listening and you're not asking for help, so you can't lose your keys. And you'll go and drink and drive, and then you get into an accident, you get pulled over by the cops or whatever it is, right? But the minute you start asking, or the minute you start, I literally start my day with, good morning, everybody. This is what I'm planning on doing today. Protect me on the road, guide me, make sure that if I need to hear a message, it comes to me clearly. I'm open to all suggestions. I still, at the end of the day, I will decide, am I going to listen to what they're saying? Or am I just, am I going to go the other way and not listen?
But I'm laughing because when we don't listen, we usually get to see what's going to happen. And I wanted to add that to the other big piece of this is we're living with time. And I truly believe that time is a man-made concept. There isn't time on the other side. So my theory is, for example, say I really wanted something and it didn't happen. I have now of the mindset that I don't see the bigger picture where things are going. Throw in free will, throw in many other things. Maybe it needed to play out that way, but I'm not seeing the bigger picture. For example, I'm going to be late. Like there's a train that
right.
And I'm held up and I'm like, oh crap, I'm late. And then I got to remember, stop, breathe. Because if that train hadn't shown up, maybe something else could have happened. And I'm not being morbid here. I'm just saying to people, we need to sort of think and realize that we really are protected and guided. And you know what? If they figured it all out for us, why bother coming here? Why bother coming here, right? It's here for us to grow, learn, and experience the journey while we're here.
Totally. Absolutely. I remember I was going to work, and it was a really... I literally had to turn left and go straight for 25 minutes and I would get to work, right?
Right.
And I'm driving down this road that I drive on every day, and all of a sudden it's like, turn left. And there's a part of me that goes, well, what do you mean? First of all, if I turn left, I'm going to be late. And why would I turn left? But
these arguments we have with spirit.
But I have learned, what?
Listen.
I'm just going to turn left, put the clicker on and turn left, because I don't care what it is. Maybe I avoided an accident. Maybe sometimes while I'm turning left, I'm discovering a store, a restaurant, or I see someone I haven't seen in 10 years. And I'm like, oh my gosh, never mind being late. I'll pull on the side of the road. I'm like, what are you doing here? I've lost touch with you. I'm on my way to work, but give me your number.
Happened to me today in numerous experiences today. Yep. I don't have a family doctor, and I have to go to, it's a walk-in clinic here. And it's the most stressful thing every month because you can't make an appointment. Sometimes you're there for hours, right? And I was thinking, do I go today? Do I go tomorrow? I thought, you know what, I'll go today because my husband just came home from the hospital. He's been in since December 20th. It wasn't the best day, but I will tell you, when I left, I thanked Spirit. A check I've been waiting for to come. Had I not gone today, I probably wouldn't have checked the mail till later. It was there. I went to the doctor's office. The receptionist that used to work there, I haven't seen in years. He was there. Great catch up. Then I go to the store where I deposit the check. This lady, I ran into her before Christmas, and I know people may know what this little Labubu craze is with all these little fuzzy, creepy little things that are out there. I seen them at this particular store before Christmas. The girl that opened it for me goes, oh my gosh, my grandkids want these. I didn't even know we carried them. She bought them. She's waiting on them today. I could not believe it. And we're chit-chatting, and I'm going, well, how did your grandkids like it? I look up and I go, oh my gosh, I was in 7th and 8th grade with you. She goes, what? What's wrong? Like they said, I had all these little experiences today that wouldn't have happened had I not gone.
Exactly. And it's funny because I have an online class right now, and we've been spending time on synchronicities, right?
Mhm.
And I'm teaching them. I said, you have to create this. You're a creator, so you're in charge of it. So we will set an affirmation for the week, which is kind of your wish, right?
Yeah.
You're wishing for this. But I said, then we're going to now set an intention. And they're looking at me like, isn't that the same thing? I said, no, an intention you are planning on taking action. And next week you're accountable to tell me, and I write it down. I said, so did you do your intention? You had intentions to, did you do it? To realize that sometimes things are not happening because we're not putting them forward. But once we start the car and we push it and drive, all of a sudden things just start happening, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All
And
right.
the big thing I wanted to add that you put in there, and I sort of mentioned it briefly too, was we have to let, and I say collectively, spirit, our team, if you will, let them know that we are open to their help, that we are open to hearing them. We are open to them being a part of our experience here. Because I'm telling you, life changes in wonderful, amazing ways that you'd never even ever imagine.
Absolutely. That's why I actually, just in case they change their mind overnight, I just tell them every morning when I get up. That's my check-in. Okay, I'm here. I'm aware you guys are there. Let's work together today.
Yep.
And I tell them, this is what I'm planning on doing today. If this isn't going to work, let me know. Just.
Yeah, but
and,
you know what you
you
just
know,
said? That's important. Okay. You said you say it at nighttime, but just in case you change your mind overnight as a joke. Okay. You say it in the morning, but you've created that habit for yourself. So
Absolutely.
you are putting in the work, you're putting in the practice because you know before you go to bed, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do in the morning. And it's every day. So it's not like you're going to forget, right? And these are the things we have to do with that practice as well.
Yeah. I actually had a saying that I saw, and it says it starts with the intention, and then it becomes a behavior, right? You have to put it in motion. But once it's a behavior, then it turns into a practice.
Yes.
And if it's a practice, then it becomes a habit. And then if it's a habit, and long enough, it becomes second nature. And if it's second nature, it becomes who you are. It's just part of you are. You can't remember what you used to do before because this is now the way you do things. Right. So for me, meditating every day was so important. And then I forgot for a while, and I got very sick. And I realized, you know what? This is so important. I need to do this every day. And then we do it twice a day. And then we have the group ones, as well. And people are like, aren't you bored? You're meditating all the time. I said, I get out of my body. I go to other planets, man.
Spirit, a whole class is with you. There's so many, and again, when you were talking about practice, I'm hearing from Spirit, it's important to talk a little bit more about this with the fact that, find something that makes it fun. Like if you're going to dread it, and be open. You were talking about that earlier in the show. Be open to anything, because if we make our minds up about things before we do it, quick example, Leanne, who's like I said, close friend of mine in Atlanta. My husband was in the hospital. I'd taken that Monday off, and you know what? She said, "Hey, let's play around with some tarot cards." And she's very good at it. So we were grabbing different decks. I never do that. Like, we need these reminders ourselves in this practice, right? Too. So it's good to hold yourself accountable. Maybe you got a friend that is going through this with you. Hey, like you said, even with your class, setting that affirmation and then checking in. It's holding yourself accountable and making it fun. It doesn't have to be all serious and whatever that is. Make it fun.
But, by setting that intention and that affirmation, and I ask them, you have to pay attention. You have to be, in awareness throughout the week. And I said, write it down. And then at the end of the week, when we meet again, they're like, oh my God, it happened like 5 times this week. Yep. Like, did it happen often like this before? I said, honestly, tell you the truth, I don't know, because you weren't asking for it, so maybe they didn't bother to. But now that you're asking, look, or maybe they kept crying and
you weren't noticing.
You
weren't noticing, right?
There's that too, right? But I'm like, now that you're actually asking questions, asking guidance, and you're getting it, like tons of it, that should be your reassurance. I need to keep doing this. That should be your I don't know, that would be my motivation. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all the answers that I need. So let's do this, right?
I'm just going to point out here, if you don't mind, because we got a few people from UPR, and I love to call them out. We got Michelle Wilfong, who is my mod on TikTok. She's got my haunted apartment, so please check her out. We got Heidi Gall, I think I said hi to. Z Sun Dragon, a fellow Canadian. I like to call him by his mother name. Kevin. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Let me know. But Carrie Fast is here too. But I love what she says. She says, I go to a tarot group and do that in a pub. Free readings to any of the patrons on Sunday afternoons.
Oh, cool.
So fun. Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's a different one. All right, so we tend to get very carried away. So I didn't prepare a ton of questions for us, but I want to know.
I read them. I kind of know where we're going.
But I want to know how you had near-death experiences, right? Is that when you were a nurse? Mm-hmm. So how did you make sense of those experiences for you?
Okay, so I believe I had one as a toddler. I don't communicate with my parents, but we were in Sault Ste. Marie. I had a fever of 105 and I kept seizuring. And my parents would bring me into Emerge all through the night. It happened 2 or 3 times and they'd send me home. So apparently I had a seizure in Emerge and I don't remember exactly what happened. All I know is I was in the hospital for a week, and there's very familiar things with a near-death experience. Like, so where I put it all together, when I started in university for nursing, it would have been August 1984. And the reason I remember this is I signed up for a publication. It was nursing, whatever the year was. First publication that came, there were 2 things on that cover I'll never forget. One was, why are we always eating our young? Talking about older nurses not wanting to mentor students. And it could be very stressful because they don't want students hanging around. Always took students because of that, and I love to teach. But then it talked about nurses' experiences with NDEs. And I was like, I was 17. It was like stuck like moth to flame. And I could not get enough about this. I read Enter Into the Light. I remember talking to my hairdresser about it. And it went from there. I had patients who would have a cardiac arrest. I used to work a lot of nights. And I was very fortunate. A couple of them were able to speak with me after they were resuscitated and share what they experienced. And it just went from there. So like I said, studied it, ate up anything I possibly could about it. I've had guests on, talked personally, privately, you name it. It is utterly fascinating, and there is absolutely something to it.
So, what does the tunnel represent? I'm curious.
I see. Now that's where I have a little bit of a problem. Okay, because because that is kind of, and I believe, and again, I don't know everything. I see you, Contessa Martin. Thank you for joining us too. Okay, so not everybody experiences that tunnel of light, and the more you study these and you look at them, and you guys, you don't have to be special to look at it. It's everywhere. You hear people's stories and what's happened. Like, I've heard stories of people meeting up with their guide right as they cross over. And there was one story I just saw recently, probably within the last year. They'd always wanted to go to New York and they'd never gotten there. And they had a near-death experience, and they talked about their guide bringing them through past lives and visiting at New York at different points and pointing out places and all kinds of things. I've heard of people going through the universe and visiting. So there are people that see the tunnel of light, but not everybody does. There's other people have talked about waking up in a meadow, and I could go on and on. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I think this is really important. I think we need to, because a lot of people associate near-death experience with the long light of tunnel, and I personally think there's so much more than that. And I'm thinking, what, did they flush everybody else? did they just keep the stories of the long tunnel? Like, there's an entire book, and everybody's having like basically the same experience. I'm like, how does that work? My father, I was talking to him on the phone the night before he died, and he was in the hospital, and he's like, what are you guys doing here? What's going on? I'm like, Dad, who's in the room with you? Right? Because it was almost a panic, right? And I'm like, what's going on? Talk to me. And he's like, well, your grandpa's here and your uncle. And, and I'm like, okay. And I know they're all dead. So I'm like, but that's fine. And I know that now that he's seen this, I know he's dying, right? I know that within 24 hours, he's going to be gone. And And I'm like, Dad, what are they saying? Listen to what they're saying. He says, well, Grandpa says he needs my help to build a porch on the cabin,
Mhm.
and your uncle wants to go fishing.
Mhm.
And I'm like, so how bad would that be, Dad? How bad would it be that you actually go and do what you love, which he was originally a carpenter, and then he ended up being a superintendent,
Mhm.
construction's big stuff. But his love was working the wood, right? And
Mhm.
I said, you haven't been able to do that because, you're getting old, arthritis, and this and that. So now you can actually go and do that and finally go fishing. He's
Mhm.
like, oh, that'd be great. It's just, I don't understand why they're here. Well, they're here because they're going to escort you, right? They're there to be with you. So there's nothing to be afraid of. So I felt so privileged to actually, because I was all the way, he's in Quebec. I was all the way in BC and in Canada. And I was privileged to still go through this experience with him. And then the nurses came and they're telling my dad, there's nobody here. And I said, just Dad, just tell the nurse everything's fine. And the nurse told my family that he was having what is it when you're having visions that aren't there,
Hallucinations.
hallucinations. And I was like, and then I'm telling my siblings, I was on the phone with Dad. He wasn't necessarily hallucinating. He was just seeing everybody who's coming to escort him. And as I predicted, the next day he passed away. So
I'm
I'm like, this is cool because I already know they were there even before. It's not like they appear when you die. They were there before
so I
to.
go ahead. Sorry, I got a bit of a delay, so go ahead.
So they were there with him to assist him in the crossover, which I thought was so amazing. So I
But
was pretty
that's what
happy.
happens. That's what okay, so I worked extensively before I hurt my back. I worked in critical care in the hospitals. I did quite a bit of high-tech stuff in the community, but my passion was really end stage of life, palliative care, people dying with dignity at home. And I am writing a book. I'm collecting stories for anybody that's out there of mainly nurses and first responders and some physicians of the miraculous, incredible things we witness at the bedside as people transition from this lifetime to where they go beyond whatever your belief system is. And I can tell you right now, almost every single person, depending on, if it was palliative and they were able to stay lucid, all of them, some of them see angels, some of them see pets, it's loved ones, they're not hallucinating. The other thing I've really seen that's quite an incredible phenomena is that I've named it the gift. And again, I don't want anybody, if you've gone through this and your loved one, you haven't experienced, it doesn't mean you didn't get a quote unquote gift, but they'll be completely comatose, unable to speak. Um, the end is near, there's physical signs, and all of a sudden they wake up and they are perfectly lucid and able to have that conversation they would have had when they were healthy. Sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's 5 minutes. The longest one I saw, and I will never forget this, was about 8 hours. And these people were very staunch Roman Catholics. So the family had really strongly believed that a miracle had happened and their loved one was healed. That was difficult to navigate, but it worked out beautifully. And I think the reason it happens is that that loved one is able to have, if you will, unfinished business or a conversation that needs to happen to help the loved ones that are left behind to be able to deal with things. And again, doesn't need to happen. I don't know why it happens, but it does, and we do see that as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally. So, and this is kind of what I want to do this year, right? I want to demystify it, and I want to tell people they're not crazy and they're not alone.
No.
And if they can hear it from different people, from different backgrounds and different kind of career path that
Mhm.
led them there. I mean, I'm a retired RCMP, which is a policewoman.
Yes,
Right?
I
So
know.
there's you don't need to be a certain type of person or to be from a certain culture or whatever. It's for anyone who is open, right? I
Absolutely.
think Sun's Dragon.
Kevin, Kevin,
That's. I just want to answer his question. I don't have a station. No one has asked me to join their
you're
station.
reading my mind because I was going to say the same. It's Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah.
I don't have a station. I have not been invited to join a station yet. So it's just me doing my podcast on my YouTube channel. And just, I think whatever I have to say if people need to hear it, they'll find me. And eventually, if I get invited, I'd be happy to join a station. But I just do mine once a month. So I'm
Carrie's
not as
in
busy
Calgary.
as.
Carrie's in Calgary. I forgot Carrie Fast, Car Fast 3, because she's talking about Calgary. You're in Alberta.
Yeah, he's an hour away from me. I'm in Drumheller. So
she's in. I just saw something earlier. She's in Calgary. We got a few Canadians here tonight. I think Contessa is from Canada. Kevin's from Canada. I think Mort Ali. Hi, Mort. I don't think I said hi. He's from Canada. I think we got lots of Canadians.
Wow. Well, for those of you interested in what I do, I'm in Drumheller, so I'm about an hour from Calgary. So anything in Alberta happens at my center. But I'm going to Toronto in early July, and I'm actually going to Vancouver in the middle of April until the beginning of May. So I travel quite a bit, right? So I do
Canadian too. Sorry, I wanted to throw that in. I think Vet Girl's Canadian too. She said she just subbed to your page.
Yay! So yeah. I think one of my roles, and that I think is the best compliment I've ever had, is when people come to me, they're like, wow, I thought I was dumb, but now you're explaining it and I can understand it because it's easy to understand. And I think that's one of the roles that I am accomplishing on this planet right now, is to allow everybody to feel they don't need to be special to understand what I'm saying. And it's I don't know if some people make it complicated because they want to sound more intelligent, or they make it complicated because they don't know how to explain it, their own experience. I just, I don't know, but I'm able to simplify things. So not to be dumb or stupid, but to the point where everybody can understand and we're all speaking the same language, right? I think it's more inclusive, right?
I'm of the same mind. Like, even with this experience with my hubby's being in the hospital, one of the nurse practitioners walked in and gives this medical word to him, and I knew what it meant. And I said, would you explain that in plain English to him? He's not stupid, but not everybody speaks nurses kind of thing, right? And
That's
it's the same thing with any profession. Even with my show, I try to remind my guests that come on, like, because you've been on enough times, but and it's with no disrespect or anything, but people don't realize that with the show going out to so many people, not everybody, it's not just people in the little tiny spiritual community. The words that we would consider common lingo, other people are going, what the heck is that? I don't know what they're talking about, kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
Well, and one of the ones that still gets me, because I wrote books on chakras. So, obviously whenever I'm invited somewhere, people are asking me, and there's other people looking at me, and you can see the question mark on their face. I'm like, do you know what chakras are? And they're like, no.
That's what I remind people. Do you know what it is? Because most people have no clue. By the way, I want to throw in, I should have told you before the show, and you guys maybe remember, if you're just tuning in, because these are many of the people that come from UPRN. We're glad that you joined us tonight. Yes. That when you talked about Bach flower remedies, oh my gosh, you got to tell them a little bit about that, Sonia, because people were messaging me privately.
Seriously?
Yes, nobody had talked about it before. They loved it. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I'm glad I could be of service. I'm actually, I'm one exam away from being an international Bach Foundation registered practitioner. So I'm this close. It's going well. It's going well. Mm-hmm. So, because I know that there was a lot of questions, and people had bad experiences, and they're saying, well, the flowers didn't work for me. And then we found out how they were selecting the flowers, which was completely...
I learned
way out there.
I know about those things, and I learned from you that night. So, and that's what's important when, again, talking to two people that do this, we do completely different things. We do a lot of things, and play in the same arenas, but we have different ways that we work with it and ways that we do it. So with anybody hearing this and they're thinking, geez, I've often wondered about that, or thought maybe, or if you've even had that inkling, explore it. And take a look. There's lots of free resources online too, that if you just do a search, and then you feel like, I'm going to use the Akashic Records. I kept hearing from Spirit, you need to look at this, you need to be called to it. And I'm going to tell you by the end of it, and I love my teacher I took both levels. I went after the first, like the level 1, I went, oh my gosh, I've been doing this my whole life. It's kind
of nice to put a name to it and actually understand what it is you're doing. You're like, oh, okay, I do this.
I was that, and I never said that to her because I mean, I'm grateful for taking the course and the people I met, but I went, holy crap, I've been doing this my whole life. That's exactly what I said. Mhm.
I was I want to know how you find your teachers, but I would actually sit and meditate on the first of the year, the January
Mhm.
1st. And then I would ask my God, okay, so where am I going this
Mhm.
year and who am I learning from? Right?
Mhm.
Completely open to any name that's going to pop in my head. And that year, they said Rinpoche, uh, Buddhist Temple, Colorado in
Okay.
June. And
Okay.
I was like, right, okay. So naively, I'm thinking there must be only one Buddhist temple in Colorado, right? Wow.
Heidi can tell you. Heidi's in Colorado. I know she is. It's in the chat.
Okay, well, if you want a state with a lot of Buddhist temple, Colorado
Mhm.
is it, man. I didn't realize they were so spiritual down there. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, like there's 100. How am I gonna find the one I'm supposed to go to? You know, a name would have been nice. But because it was specifically in June, I started looking at their programs, and only one out of the 150 temples in Denver, in Colorado, actually had a Rinpoche teaching. And I was like, okay, well, you know, that it wasn't the fastest answer, but it still, I felt like this is it. And I went
Well,
there.
yeah, you had the clues. Mhm.
Yes, I had enough clues, but you know, sometimes people are like, my answer wasn't clear. Well, neither was mine, but when you put a little bit of effort into it, you realize,
Mhm.
wow, okay. So, and I did look at every single one of them, and there was only one offering classes with a Rinpoche in June. So
Mhm.
I had to be the one. And I went
Mhm.
there, and it turns out that this 4-day retreat with this guy was explaining what I was going through the past 6 months.
Wow.
All of these emotional release. I'd be in my car, and all of a sudden this emotion would come to the surface, and I would be bawling my eyes in traffic, and people would look beside me going, are you okay? And I'd be like, fine
Mhm.
if I
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But not understanding what the hell's going on, but still going with it, right? I'm thinking, okay, well, if this wants to come out, I'm stuck in traffic anyway. There's no one to
Yeah.
bother me, so might as well just, let it out. And 6 months later, I'm at this retreat, and I actually figure out, oh, this is what I'm doing. And oh, I can actually select the time I want to do this. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
take me by surprise anymore. Oh, and it was just like exactly what I needed, right?
Mhm. And that's
So
usually what. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to know how you find your teachers. Like you
Okay.
said, the Akashic record, they kept popping in your head, but how did you find the teacher?
Okay. So I wasn't so lucky as you have, and there are people you can tap in and ask spirit. But say you're new to this and you're just feeling this calling. Um, Take a look at, just look up spiritual things like what, look at all a bunch of different topics. We've thrown a bunch out there. Do any of these you kind of go, geez, I kind of want to know more about that. Once you find something that's maybe interesting, like for example, Leanne and I are working on, it's a foundational course for pretty well everything you can sort of think of within the spiritual field is going to be one time a week for a couple months, and we pretty well have quite a bit of the bulk done. We've got the outline, we've got quite a bit of stuff done for it. So and you don't have to be new to spirituality to take it. There may be some things in there you've never heard of or you've never looked at. So that's a way, for example, taking a look or looking up spiritual courses, talking to people. I think it's more important because I've met so many people, even in the last year, that'll say, holy crap, like I've never met someone like you. Like I feel like I'm all alone. Like I've got no one to talk to about this. The internet is your friend. But do some research, lurk, because not everything is. I'll never forget this comment somebody made years ago in a group I was in. They go, holy cow, I thought light worker and spiritual meant all love and light. And people are going to just be like, what you expect in this field. No, they're people. Some great, it's going to sometimes be a good fit, sometimes not. Do some reading, do some research, look at the reviews. Most people that are ethical and good teachers will have reviews. Talk to people. When you get into these groups, you start to talk to different people. If you're trying to make these connections, right? Do your
Yeah,
homework. And not every teacher is the right teacher for you. So the one other
absolutely.
thing, look at how you learn. What's the best way you learn? Are you a visual learner? Would you prefer to read something? Would it be a video? And it takes, like, kind of how you said, how you figured things out with the course you took. You're going to have to put a little bit of work in and connect with
Yes.
people. Because if you, like, for my Akashic Records teacher, everything kept popping up, and pay attention to that synchronicities. Something keeps popping up in your field. My rule of thumb is pops up twice in a short window of time. I'm talking 12 hours. I need to pay attention. Third time, that's a sign for me. So,
Absolutely.
and then what happened, I never said Akashic Records out loud, but this mentor, she's in Los Angeles, who I took the course with, Amy Robeson. I'd recommend her to anybody. She's got a great spiritual group. I think it's called Spiritual Awakenings on Facebook with Amy Robeson. She's on TikTok. She started popping up in my feed on Instagram, Facebook, and I wasn't saying it. I wasn't like, no verbal, no nothing. And I'm going, So I did my homework. I looked her up. And plus, I think ethical teachers will offer, usually if it's a longer course, an investment is they will offer a master class or something. And she does. I think it's a 10-day master class for her Akashic Records course. And there you go. You get a taste of what they have to offer. Check their videos out. So you do need to do the homework, just like you would with anything, making a purchase, if you're not able to connect with spirit yet, like how you can do it.
Yeah, totally. And I personally, the path that I started, first it started with giving Reiki. My grandmother taught me all about energy exchange and energy healing, but I was kind of, I would say, terrified to be locked up in a padded room if I told anybody about this, because I started to realize when I was 16 that I was different. So
I know people that happened too, but that was way back in the day. So people, I'm not trying to.
But by the time I was 6, it took until I was 16 to realize I was actually different. And then I got kind of scared because of the way that people looked at me, and they thought I was crazy. So then I kind of, went inside a little box, and I was like, okay, so maybe I shouldn't talk about this. And so I came back out of the box. I was about 30 by then. And I got over this fear of, reading tarot, giving people messages, changing energy and all this. And then Reiki came on my path. And then I was like, okay, so even though it's the same exact thing that my grandmother taught me, this is something that's recognized. That's something that people will trust. If they trust the name.
Acceptable.
Right? So I was like, okay, well, I don't care if we call it energy healing, if we call it theta healing or hands-on healing or Reiki. I'll just pick the one that's the most popular, that everybody will go, oh yeah, I heard of it. And I'm not so strange anymore. And, and I have an association that backs me up, and I'm like, okay, I can get on board with this. So I started giving Reiki, and I took a Akashic record from a lady, and her level 3 was more of a business class, and she launched us we all had to teach a class of 4 hours. And I guess I got me over my fear of teaching, right? And that's how it's all started. So it was a lot of my journey has been, okay, so here's your next step. So I don't think they ever push you over the edge. I think they nudge you until you see there's an actual bridge there, and you just walk on the bridge, right?
But you have to walk on the bridge. You have to take that step onto the bridge. And the thing I cannot emphasize enough with people, we were not sent here without God, we have so many resources to tap into. You are never alone. It just depends. You want to look at astrology. There are people that do soul path charts. There's Akashic records. We could go on and on and on. We have a whole team behind us. We have angels. We have ascended masters. We have so many things. Crystals. I call my best friend Leanne the crystal wizardess. She's actually a crystal architect. If I don't know what it is, I send her a picture. She'll know what it is.
But right? And that's what's nice, because when you start connecting with other people, if you don't have it, someone in your circle
somebody else does. Yep.
And so you're never at a loss. You always have an answer. So Carfast, I don't know their name. You know their name, but I don't. But she says
she's in Alberta. She says you guys are neighbors. She said in the chat.
She says I've argued with my guides, and I have to I have to share this story. because I think this is going to bring it home for a lot of people. In 2009, I'm painting a wall. So, and that's one of those moments that, you know, your mind actually goes blank. Mm-hmm. After, you know, you're painting, you went through all your don't forget the laundry, don't forget put this on the shopping list, you know, and then your mind is finally empty. And this is when I get the message, you know, they pop right in. They're like, okay, yeah, Sonia, you're ready to retire. And you can actually launch your Reiki, you know, clinic. And I'm like, yeah, right. As if. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, I got a house to pay. I have a car to pay. I have bills on the other side. You guys don't even need a winter jacket. I have to pay the heating in this place. I need electricity money. And I said, I have 3 kids. They didn't ask for craft dinner every day. I would, but you know, I'm not doing this to my kids. I said, there's no way, man. I'm ready to do this. I'm plugged from a nice, steady paycheck that, you know, pays for everything. I'm like, no, there's no way. And they're like, okay, all we're saying is you're ready and we're ready and everything is there. You just need to do it. And so I was like, there's no way. But then you know, it kind of got the conversation started in my head. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not ready, but they're saying I should be. So maybe there's things I need to be ready. So it did take 6 years for me to, and that's when I took the Reiki class.
Scary, because that's real life. Like I always say, right? Like I believe that we know exactly why we're coming here. We have spiritual contracts and stuff. But then I always said, I wish I really would have read the fine print before I said yes. Because it takes courage. You got to have that courage to take that first step. But that's like anything in life. Think about it. When we're comfortable and we know what's going on, right? There is no impetus to change the status quo. You received that important message. And though even it may have taken you 6 years, you knew, you heard, you know your team's never going to steer you wrong. It's getting over our own mindset that okay.
Absolutely. So I built my confidence because it was really a me problem. It wasn't a them problem. It was all me, you know. So, but I got my little certificate of Reiki teaching and I got my little certificate that I'm part of an association. I got this and I got that. And then I was like, okay, I look so professional. Now I can do it. And the minute I said I can do it, well, it exploded on me. And I was full all the time. Well, I was like, okay, how come so many people need Reiki? Well, then I should teach people how to do Reiki and then I got into the teaching and it just ballooned right up. So I think 2 years in, again, they pop in and like, okay, so we want you to go to Europe. I'm like, right. So I said, how is that going to look? I'm going to get off the airplane. I'm going to be in an airport. I'm going to have a little soapbox and I'm going to talk about energy in the airport. Like, what do you guys expect me to do? Like, this is huge. And they're like, the question is, would you like to go to Europe? I'm like, yes, I will go, but you guys fix it. I have no idea how to do that.
You can say that. Then you put everything in alignment. I will bring the courage. I will take that first step. And you guys, you have the right to say that, like, okay, I'm willing to step forward here. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but I need you to meet me halfway and make it clear those signs, right? Like make it clear.
So I was like, I'm saying yes, but I have no idea how to do this. So you guys are going to have to just do it. And I kid you not, within 2 weeks, I received a phone call. I was invited on a European tour of 6 countries. Everything was booked. Everything was organized. All I had to do was show up and do the Friday night, kind of welcoming and doing my thing for a few hours on the Friday night and assist during the weekend. And then people absolutely fell in love with me and re-invited me the year after.
Yes. See?
So it was just like, okay, well, if this is going to work, yeah, totally, I'm in. So the advice I would say, don't do it if you're not comfortable. But if you've been holding on, give it a try. You know, follow what they're saying. Because me now, they say something and I just follow.
But we all know, because like people have been putting in the chat, hi, JD Thompson, I see you there. Thanks for joining us. But that's the thing, right? It's scary. Change is scary. And it's very sad. And I believe that we are going to shift as a population on this planet. But the only impetus for change is when something's really awful and we want to get out of what we're in And we get the choice, right? Do we stay in the victimhood? There's no right or wrong answer. Or do we do something with what's happened to us, maybe to help others or what? But when it's status quo and you're comfortable and you got
What would you change?
other people to depend on you and bills to pay, that's a scary step to take. But when you say yes, and you just given two incredible examples of saying yes, and look what happened.
I can't complain. Honestly, the more I say yes, the more the suggestion come, the more the suggestion come, the more things are like they're on hyperdrive, right? So eventually I got to this point where I'm now, and I created the Wisdom School of Spiritual Transformation, which is kind of why we want to do the podcast on spiritual transformation. It's to help people, whatever door you want to come in, that it's either mediumship, that it's intuitive, that it's energy healing, that whatever door you open, just walk in and then realize there's so many possibilities and so many gifts and abilities that are innate and dormant inside of us because we just don't know how to turn them on. So yeah, totally.
I'm going to address Judy's comment. She says, I wish I could hear my guides. I guarantee you are hearing them, but you're not sure that maybe you're doubting it, or I know Judy too as well. So, but the thing is, right, like Sonia was saying, then maybe you take a course. There's so many groups even on Facebook you can join that you can go and practice, or people are doing a bit of teaching, or there's things out there. But if you go back to the beginning of Sonia's, this is going to be on your YouTube and everything, right? When you upload it, or where will
it's on YouTube right now. It's playing. Yeah.
Okay. Live. So if you go back, Judy, and you listen, like we talked about, listen to the beginning is what I should have said. There's we talked about things like meditation and things like that. We have to work on that inner healing. Gratitude is a big piece. And the reason it reminds me to do my gratitude list, I got a bad back. So when I get into bed at night, this bed feels so amazing. It's like, thank you for this bed. And it reminds me to do the gratitude, same thing in the morning, right? And it's doing all these little bits and pieces. If you don't know where to start, even look for someone that's just, teaching about grounding or energy or, just spirituality in general. Have a listen. Does it resonate? Does it feel right to you? Is there something that people
absolutely. That's very important. Please, it's not because Laura-Lee or I say things that you should believe those things.
Yeah, I agree.
Should take what we're saying. You should compare it to what other peoples are saying. And then you should ask yourself, does this align with my belief system and my inner values? And if it does, then maybe take it one step further. And I think this is very, very important. I work with very old teachers. So I work with Edgar Cayce. I work with, well, he's not old. I think you wouldn't like me if I said this, but Cryon. He's been around for 35 years. He's not the new guy on the map. But I also have T. Baird, which wrote his book in 1897. Florence Scovel-Shinn, she wrote it in 1902. I go and I get people that are not necessarily known, but they're all saying the same thing. For French people, Alain Kardec, he found 3 mediums, and his entire career was to prove that we're fakes, right? So he's going all around France, and he's proving that these people are absolute fakes. And we're talking back then, they had tables shaking and the sounds in the whatever. But he eventually found these 3 person. One was an old lady, one was a middle-aged lady, and the other were 2 little sisters that were about, I think they were 10 and 12. Right. And they seemed to be the real thing. So he wanted to test them. And they lived all over France, right? So that's not like they were neighbor or anything. And he would ask each of the 3 groups the same question and always got the same answer. So then again, this is another way to say, well, this has to be true. If 3 people who don't know each other are, hundreds of kilometers apart and they're giving you the same answers from the other side, that must mean there's something from the other side talking to us, right? So anyway, there's a lot of it out there. You need to open your eyes. You need to search and you need to ask questions. And, the more open you are, the more you're likely to get answers.
The other thing I advise people to do, if you don't think that you're picking up on stuff intuitively, a lot of people say, I'm going to trust my gut. I don't know why I'm going to trust my gut, or I know it and I don't know why. I encourage people that when you have these serendipitous experiences, or you know who's going to be on the phone when they call all of a sudden, and you just
Yeah.
know you don't know, start making a list of these things, just jotting them down, because I guarantee if you go back 6 months from now, you're going to go, holy cow, I can't believe how much I actually was doing this. Start building your evidential proof list for yourself, and you're going to see you are intuitive. You've got these gifts. You may not be called, because I bet so many people, oh, I don't want to call myself a psychic. Well, some of the stuff you're telling me seems psychic to me. You don't have to slap a label on it, but you're intuitive. So it is what it is, right?
I think it's when you actually hear what you want to hear that is
I've
tougher.
met people like that in my previous group. We used to all do a teaching lesson. This was years ago. And then we do readings. And, you would try to support the people before you and after. And, my heart would hurt for people because they'd be there just for the free readings, which is fine. But they'd ask like 4 people in a row. Like I used to do a portion, other people I know would do a portion. And it was always the same question because they were expecting a different answer. And none of us were all sitting there watching one another. Like I just noticed this a few times, because I say, hey, I got to go live in an hour. I'm going to support so-and-so when they're there. If you're not hearing what you think you need to hear, sometimes you got to just be open to what you receive, because again, you don't have the big picture. And as much as we'd like to say that we're in control, we're not when an answer is coming from the other side, and it's coming through in love and your best interest and highest good, believe it or not. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I
Mm-hmm.
can only agree with that. I stopped doing, I used to do the fairs and do the readings.
Yeah, I
And
don't
I
do it
stopped
anymore.
because I got annoyed with people, and they come to me, especially if I was, I get it, the people in the afternoon. Oh, well, you're saying the same thing that 4 other people said. I'm like, why are you seeing 5 different people on the same day to get,
That's what I'm saying. That's what
right?
I'm
It's
saying.
like, come on, like, obviously, it doesn't matter what we're saying. You're not wanting to listen. You're not wanting to change. So don't waste my time. Someone else might be, uh, be interested in what I have to say because it's actually gonna change their lives, right?
I wanted to come, if you're okay with this, with that
Yeah.
girl. Like, the labels make me nervous because I've been dismissed. You're not good enough. So now I'm building my confidence. That is the biggest thing. That's why I always encourage people I'm working with to start building, as I call it, the evidential proof list. And guess what? I heard this years ago, and Spirit keeps reminding me, so I guess I got to say it, is I heard from a mentor years ago, what other people think of me is none of my business. And I remember saying, well, of course it's my business. Like, what if people think I'm blah, blah? And then I realized, it's not, because 90 to 99% of toxic things you may run into, or angry people or whatever, we don't know what their life they're going through, first of all. And it's usually what's going on in their own life. You just happen to be there, whether you're the mirror for them that triggers it or whatever it may be. It really has nothing to do with you. All you got to worry about is you. It's hard. It hurts when someone's nasty. I get it. But if you can try to remember that, because I guarantee you, like you said, you're building your confidence list. That's the hardest part. And you're doing
Well,
it. I know you're doing it.
I did a reading once, and it's only happened to me once. And they said to me that all you're saying is bullshit. I'm like, you know what? This is the cards, what the cards are saying, and this is what I'm hearing. I can't lie to you, and I can't tell you what I'm. This is what I'm hearing. So this is what I can give you.
Because
I
we
can't
have
give
no
you.
attachment to the outcome. Like, we're telling you what we're hearing. Like we say, most of us that do this say, I don't want to know anything. I just want to know, why are you coming to see me? Okay, great. And people want to tell you a bunch of stuff. It's like, no, don't tell me, please don't tell me. Because then we receive the answer. We have no attachment to the answer. We're coming in, holding the space for you, and hopefully making that connection with spirit for you in a place of love and in highest good for you. So
Yeah.
exactly like you said, you're telling what you're receiving, because that's what spirit's saying.
Right? What else can I do? There's nothing more I can do.
Yeah.
It's this.
Mhm.
This is what it is.
Mhm.
So, which brings me to the question. I mean, between the being the psychic, the crystal Reiki master, the medical intuitive, all of those things.
Yeah.
Which class you think helped you understand more? Which one really, like, you had this, wow, I get it? Which one really did it for you?
I have to say, the group that I was a part of, it was a pretty big part of the group. I'm no longer a part of it, but I think what made the connection for me and put it all together, because I took quite a few different courses from different mentors, was, oh my gosh, I've already been doing this for a long time, and holy cow, I can do this. And the one thing I did here that was influential for me, I am a card junkie. I call myself that. I probably have about 90 different Oracle decks, as we all do,
Wow.
probably most of us, tarot and what have you over the years. And one of my mentors said to me, this was years ago, you know, you don't need the cards. That's just your security blanket. And they pushed me. And you know what? They were absolutely right. Do I like to pull them out and have fun with them? Yep.
Yes.
But no. That was the most
and honestly, in the program that I built, I tell them start with Oracle cards and tarot cards, because the cards are assisting you until eventually you're gonna realize. And I prove them, right? I'm holding the deck in my hands, and I do my thing, and then I flip the cards, and the cards say exactly what I've just done without the cards.
That's a good way, though, that you brought up to build your. Okay, so I just grabbed this as it's called Fin de Siècle Kipper deck. It's an old deck. It has to do more with people and things, and I seen it, and I went, "Ooh, that's cool. I don't have a deck like that. I've got a Halloween. These are tarot, and I don't read tarot the traditional way. I have a course that I'm slowly working through. I read them intuitively, but like this is a Halloween one. I have Oracle decks that I love, because remember I said at the beginning of all this, I was only doing angel cards because they were positive. They start playing with the cards, pull them out. You can do it with a deck of cards. Ask a question that you want to know something, and I find the pictures are easier for me because I'm visual. What's in the picture that you're pulling up? What does it tell you? What do you pick? You know what I mean? And that's how you build up. You build the trust, I think, which is most important.
Well, the one of the most one I had recently was 3 people actually travel a whole hour to come and get a reading, and they asked to do it as a group. And I was like, I can't, unless you're in a business together, I can't really read to all of you together. You can be in the same room together, but I'm gonna have to read each person separately. And I don't know these people. They're from a different town, so obviously I know nothing about them. But as I'm going through, not so much the card, but what I'm getting, they're like, wow, where did you get this? And they're like, did you tell her? And I'm like, no, I'm other than the fact that you guys booked this, I haven't talked to any of you. So this is what I'm hearing. And it was really cool to see how the other 2 friends are supporting the one getting the reading, going, see, we've been telling you. And it was like, so
but spirit does. So people don't know what crystal Reiki is. It's not traditional crystal or Reiki. I work with your chakras. I work with your energy body. So I can tell you, I did a crystal Reiki reading session for a friend years ago, and I'm checking his energy body, and I get to his right ankle, and I go, sure, your right ankle hurting, or is there something going on with it? And I can't say what I don't know where this is going to go, but let's just say there was a lot of colorful cursey words going, how did you know that? Like, nobody knew that. I crushed my ankle in a motorcycle accident 15 years ago, and I had to say to him, your body's telling me. It's not me. Like Reiki, right? We're just, as I call myself, the male person, connecting the love and light and healing from source to the person that we're working with. Well, your body will tell you too. So
exactly. Absolutely. Now, I know you've been saying, you mentioned your back pain a few times, and I want to know, I want you to tell us, so what did life throw at you to make you shift from work to, pulling you away from this and then throwing you in a more spiritually oriented job?
I think I needed a big bang on the head. So first of all, my plan was, I would have had 12 kids if I could have, but I had my first son. I was working 3 jobs. I developed and taught community nursing course for RPNs and RNs at the college. I was working full time and still working casual in the NICU. Then I had a fall through a patient. He had a trailer, went through the side door. It was for dressing. Asked if I could use the front door closer to my car. He said, sure. Had a big bag. I worked for a Victorian Order of Nurses. Stepped out onto the front landing, and he had a giant hole covered with a rug that shattered all the discs in my back. So that ended my nursing career. But as I often say, I did not know I was going to have a son with severe autism. So, because I wanted to be a doctor. That was my plan. And so at least I looked at the blessings that, you know what, at least I had a small pension coming in every month so I could be home for him, first of all. So that's one thing that started to shift my perspective. I'm healthier now at 60 than I ever was as the age of 30. That's another piece that shifted. Like something has to shift here because I was seeing a naturopath and she's going, this isn't working. Like what's going on? That started it. The biggest piece, the paranormal experience. That was the big slap upside the head that, hey, and that's why I'm doing the work I'm doing in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. But so I think it's really important because people are like, bad things are happening to me, you know, and they're focusing on something bad happened. Like for me, it wasn't a pleasant experience either. Overnight, I became practically paralyzed with fibromyalgia, and I couldn't do anything. Going down the stairs from the second floor to the first floor, I needed to nap. There was a time where I had to pay people to come to my house to get me out of bed because I couldn't pull myself out of bed, and they had to dress me up. I mean, it was bad. Mm-hmm. And that led me to take a medical retirement, just like you, right? I can't do the job anymore.
I didn't have a choice. I couldn't walk. I still, like, it was that bad. It's way better now than it was. Haven't had surgery or anything. Just get to know your body, work on some of the inner healing. But anyways, please continue. Mm-hmm.
And so nothing was working. And then I was, again, I was more quiet because I was at home and the kids were at school. And I was like, maybe it's time for you to get back to what you knew. You know, so when I said I went into this box, and so I didn't talk about it, but I also didn't do anything about it, right? So I was like, okay, let's go back to meditating. Let's go back to circulating energy. Let's go back to this chakra thing. Let's go back to, and slowly I went back to also yoga, and all of a sudden, without medication, I was back to being functional. I wouldn't say that I could go back to doing that job full time. I think it would kill me again because it's not where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm able to do the work that I do, and I needed to walk away from that because it was very attractive. My salary was cut in third.
my salary, I tell people, if anybody thinks if I could be working, I would be. But you know what? Like I said, I chose to look at the blessings in it. Like I said, I did not know I was going to have a son that needed to have his mama home with him. And so I looked at the blessing in that. I knew many people with lucrative careers that had to leave it all, especially as a single parent, because their child had such high needs. And they were like living in poverty almost because they had to quit a job. I at least had a small pension coming in. So like I say, like this last year, and I'm not going to get into it, but I'll tell you, it's the worst year I've ever had in my life. But you know what? I trust and know that there are lessons in this. And I've said many times to Spirit this year, I know there's a reason. I may not know why, but we have to be open to that, right?
Absolutely.
And can't do anything else. It's going to happen. So it's all about perspective and the way that you look at things too, I think.
Well, for me, I actually sat down because it was becoming very, I don't know, very direct, the messages. Come on, let's go. We need to get on with this,
Yeah, but Spirit kind of gently nudges, and then they poke, and then they give you a little further push, and then finally it's like, you're in the wrong profession. It's time to...
Absolutely. So I actually sat down, and then I started asking myself, okay, so do I need to go to the hairdresser? Do I need those fancy clothes that I did need for the office work? But I needed the parking stall. I was so busy I couldn't make my lunch, so I ate at the cafeteria. So I started calculating how much money I was spending just to go to work. And obviously I was in a higher tax bracket. And so I figured even though I make less money, because I pay less taxes and I don't have all these expenses, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I was. Right. So I think if you're waiting to make this shift and you're worried, I think it's time for you to examine, like, am I driving a BMW or could I do with a smaller car, a less expensive car? I'm not judging. If you can afford it, go for it. But I'm saying I'm happier with a very basic car because I can do what I'm passionate about. And so I don't have to have a job that I absolutely hate just because I want to drive this particular car. So I let go of a lot of attachments, material things that just don't matter to me, so that I'm able to do what I'm really passionate about and be able to be with that. All right. So now you have a lot of experience under your belt, right?
Mhm.
Where do you think a newcomer should start? What do you think would be, if you were to suggest one thing to them, what do you think would it be?
First thing, examine. There are so many free resources on the internet, first of all. Other thing coupled with that, even if you don't like, and we probably don't have enough time, but I never used to meditate. And there's a really funny story how I started. And so what I even suggest to people, you got a busy life, like, spirit doesn't care if you spend an hour on top of the mountain in the lotus position. You'll meet people that'll tell you it has to be that way. Or you start to practice in small increments. It's about slowing down your breathing, getting into a relaxed state, quieting that part of the mind. And if you can't, just let it go. Let it go and keep just the effort. It's going to come. The other part is grounding yourself. We're on this planet for a reason. Grounding. They have a new documentary out a couple of years about this magical healing technique called earthing. It's been around for thousands of years. So meditation, grounding, also. Really getting into looking at yourself, the things we've gone through. None of us have grown up on a TV sitcom where everything's running, beautiful and wonderful and everything's love and light. Starting to forgive yourselves, maybe working with that inner child. If you've had a difficult childhood, I find a lot of people in this field, I know myself included, and many that have had a difficult childhood, going back, maybe doing some, inner child work. You can find things like that on the internet. So really working on that healing aspect, things that have really maybe hurt you over the years, you haven't been able to let go of. There's cord cutting. There's a lot of things about getting yourself sort of on that journey of healing and taking care of you. There's a saying within this field, right? You have to basically fill up your own cup before you can continue to give to others, including, and the big piece for me and many of us in this, I'm really good at giving, but not very great at receiving. But remember, with the universe, right, we've got to be able to show both. So it's working on yourself, practicing gratitude, really changing your vibration and frequency. I used to hate to hear that. You got to raise your vibration. What the heck is that? It's true. So it's these things about really making yourself feel a little bit better, working on yourself. And then, like I said, start joining some groups. If you have to lurk for a while, take a look. What are they talking about? Does anything resonate? Is this where I might feel in a safe space to meet? You'll meet new people. You'll meet lifelong friends, I guarantee you. So really starting with the basics of, preparing yourself with it, having conversations with spirit even about that, like we did at the beginning of the show, that I'm open to working with you, having you work with me, defining what you need. You've talked about some of these things tonight, so have I. So it's these little bits and pieces, and then maybe just finding a general spirituality course if you need to. There's lots of free master classes out there. I'll tell you, they're always going to try and tell you something at the end, but pretty well, I'm going to say 90% of master classes I've gone to in the spiritual field, you're going to walk away with something new, some new technique, or work, you name it, a healing meditation, you name it. Take advantage of what's out there. And then,
and there are things that are really simple, right? You don't need to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to learn it. Like tapping, for example, right? It's something that you can do for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
and who's here?
I mean, if you're like, just the example of the back flowers, when we talked about that last time, you were saying, well, she gave me her pre-made bottles for backache, and I was like, okay, but that's not how it works.
I know, I learned from you. Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is why your one bad experience shouldn't be the experience you build everything on. Right. Mm-hmm. If that didn't work, well, maybe, because just like everything else, not everybody is as good as other people or know what they're doing. Yeah. So if one thing didn't work for you, maybe look for a better reference. Ask people about, where do you go? Did you try this? And I do this for a chiropractor or a massage therapist. So why wouldn't you do that for an energy worker or getting a reading or whatever, right?
Look at your learning style. I think this is very important. I think it's a gift to yourself to understand, how do I learn best? That's also going to help you if the person's just got pre-recorded videos, but you need somebody live and a practice group versus that. So really look at, how do you learn best? What works best for you? And like I say, when you do all these little bits and pieces in the beginning, and then once you start to look at these things and do some research, you're going to see other things like chakras and like all these things we've talked about. And there's a plethora of more topics. But the thing is, see, like if you see something and it kind of get that tingling, like, what is that? I want to know more about it. If you get pulled towards it, take a look, do some research.
Yeah, I'm just going to say in there, not last year, because I was very sick last year. I didn't do one podcast last year, but the year before, I did a whole series on healing naturally. So, how to use water, how to use, there's different things that they address. So you can go and look at that because it costs you nothing to try it and see, right? The grounding is important. I had someone who was always late. As far as I'm concerned, she's disrespecting the group because she's, we always have to wait for her. And she was very la, which is cute. It's nice.
Yeah.
But
it's not working.
And I told her, I said, you need to ground yourself. She said, well, I'm trying to be spiritual. Why would I ground myself? And I think this is really important. It's a key.
Number one, you have to ground yourself.
You're a soul, but you're a soul who decided to incarnate on earth inside of a human body. And therefore, you are here for a human experience. It's not going to take away the fact that you are a divine being and you are a soul and your spark of divine lives inside of you. You are here for the human experience. Yeah. So if you're not grounding yourself, you're going to miss the whole thing. And guess what? You're going to have to come back.
Another thing I'm going to stress. Hi, Shannon. I see you there. And Kevin Z Sun Dragon said he subbed to your channel too.
Thank you.
So okay, you don't have to buy this deck. Okay, but what I'm saying is pick up a deck. If you don't know what kind of deck to look, if you've got the luxury of going to a store and picking them up, there's lots of pictures on the back. Pick it up, feel it.
Pick one up. Just draw one up for us.
Oh, just a card?
Yeah, why not?
I love Kyle. I need to get some of Kyle Gray's newest decks. I love Kyle Gray. Kyle Gray does a lot of good stuff with angels too. He's out there. He's from Scotland. I'm not recommending him, but I enjoy his content from time to time. So this is one of his decks here. Hang on, I'm shuffling, guys. Kevin loves when I pull cards. He always says you should pull a card and let us read it by the end of the show. So hang on.
There you go. See? Great minds think alike.
Okay, so the card I picked with the intention for anybody listening or who will be. Oh my God, I could not have picked it. Okay, you guys don't think these decks work? What's the card say? Odin, psychic insight. Your third eye is open. See truth for what it is. Follow your intuition. People, I could not make this up. And what are we talking about tonight? I couldn't make it up. I shuffled. I almost dropped the deck, and I just cut it in half, and that's the card.
There you go.
Practice with them, play with them. The books tell you the meanings behind the cards, but shuffle. Every deck will tell you how to prepare it energetically for your energy, and just play. If you got, like I said, Leanne and I played with tarot decks 2 weeks ago. I hadn't done that in years. We had them all together, and the more one more thing I was going to add, we were trying to ask about Bigfoot. Believe it or not, she goes, "That's go really weird." Guess what? Didn't matter what decks we used. It decided that the message was coming through for me and I needed it. We weren't getting anything about Bigfoot. So Spirit said, nope, this is the message you're going to need to hear tonight because you're open to it. There was no way it was going to Bigfoot.
This is important, okay? Because sometimes you're asking the wrong question. And it's not what you need right now. What you need right now is this. And that's what you're going to get. And that's why, sometimes I had people say, well, why can't I meet the love of my life? And I'm like, yeah. I said, actually, you need to look at yourself and ask yourself, what do I need to change inside of me so that you are going to attract the person you want, right? So it's
and
not
what
always...
do you need to heal from your previous relationship? Are there soul pieces maybe we need to call back and return? Are there cord attachments? Like these are things you will come across in this field. And again, you're not going to know it all. Like I used to marvel at people who would have the knowledge you have or I have. And I'm telling you, I was going, how am I ever going to know stuff like that? I'm telling you, you open yourself up and Spirit gives you downloads even. We didn't even talk about that. There's all kinds of things. Spirit has your back.
Absolutely. So I would like to know, what do you think it was the personal benefit that you gain by being a spiritually awakened personality?
Oh my God, where do I begin? I just said earlier, I'm healthier now at 60. than I
Okay,
was.
so that's the first. You get healthier because you're on the right path, so your body stops stopping you from going on the wrong path. Now that you're on the right path, you're healthier.
My
Good.
body was turning on itself
Yeah.
because I had a lot of inner healing to do, which involved forgiveness, shadow work, healing the inner child. And I'm still a work in progress, by the way, guys, and I will be to the day I die, and that's okay. Learning about gratitude, like all these things we've talked about tonight, it's changed my life dramatically. When something crappy happens, I don't automatically think, oh God, why me? Right? Well, people ask those questions like, seriously, I've had enough. And I that little voice inside, and it's just what I hear is, and I know it's cliche, but God doesn't give you more than you can handle. So we need to know that, I feel anyways, that we never get more than what we can handle, that everything happens when it's meant to happen, and you're in exactly the right place where you are today in this moment.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you answer the question of Shannon there? She says, I've always been afraid to bring those decks into the house. Like, oh my God, I must have 50 in this house. Is it possible to bring in negative? Please answer her.
Okay.
I know what you mean, negative energy. I get it. But yeah, my answer is bring them in. But
she's had paranormal experiences, and I know why she's afraid of it.
Okay.
If you're very afraid, I would suggest going with an oracle deck. And I know you live in my city, so one of the best places I can recommend, there's two, but I love, for a lot of cards, Mystic Garden. So go play around in their room. They got a nice coffee lumber room there, unless they change. I haven't been in a couple months. Play around, look for an oracle deck or angel deck. It's only positive energy. Clear it. One of the first things I was taught, new deck, and everything we touch has been touched by thousands of hands. If you bought it in the store, knock, wave, knock, wave, knock, wave, with the intention clearing the energy. Then I open the deck. It'll tell you inside, touch each card. There's a prayer you can pray, and then just play around the deck. And be open to, and ask your guides. There's a way, other thing I'm going to tell you, protect yourself, and before you say nothing but positive, wonderful things, and ask, say, Archangel Michael to protect you. And when you're done, you close the session. You're not contacting spirits or anything. This is for you to connect with your intuition. Mm-hmm. That's a quick journey with that. I have videos on the YouTube channel, how to do a 1-card angel card reading, angel board. If you go into the video section, I do. If you scroll down to the bottom. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm actually getting questions that are not linked to the YouTube and Facebook, so I'm trying to answer them as we go. Okay. So now, what do you have coming up that maybe you'd like to tell the rest of us? I know you're saying you're working on this workshop, which I'm really excited to hear when it's going to be done. But do you have anything coming up soon?
I do, but so with the workshop, it's not just a workshop. We are building a community. We have a name of it. Leanne already has a course set up for crystals already. We're looking at all kinds of things. So this is foundational. I've had a little bit of a setback with things personally, but probably in the next couple months, we were aiming for February. That didn't happen. I can't quite announce it yet, but watch UPRN for maybe something else soon.
Ooh, yes. I also been waiting for that. So that's not quite finalized yet.
Mm-hmm. So and that's about it. You guys can always I don't know if you want to ask me if that was an excellent word to get a hold of me, but that's kind of where I'm at right now with them.
Yes, please go ahead and tell my listeners where they can find you.
Okay, so you guys can always get a hold of me on any social media platform. If there's an app, I probably have it under Laura Lee Potvin. It's spelled like Lorelei. I always tell people, just call me Lore, because my name is spelled so weird, so Lor. Best place, so I do have a business page. When this community gets built, I am going to a domain name, but you can find me under facebook.com/Angel Rock. I do psychic and mediumship readings, Akashic Records, Crystal Reiki. I do teaching and mentoring. What else do I do? Whole bunch of things in there. Fastest and easiest way to get a hold of me is usually on Facebook Messenger, but I will respond. I'll get back to you, I promise. Thank you for having me tonight.
Yeah, on my media, I did post your bio and I did post all your connecting media on
Thank
there as
you.
well, so they
Thank,
can easily, go back to my announcing our meeting
thank
tonight and find you that way as well. I'm
us.
I'm like I said, I'm new to this, so I don't know how you do that when you enter my stuff on the screen.
I'll show you. I told you I could teach you all kinds of fun things with this stuff. You get to be
Right?
doing it forever, and then it becomes like old hat. Yeah. Mhm.
Very good. So the you do have, though, the every Monday is Angel Rock.
Yeah, I guess I should say that. Thank you for the
Yeah.
reminder. Yes, every Monday on United Public Radio or CFO Paranormal United Public Radio Network, or just UPRN. And you can find me on Facebook or YouTube. So on Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern is the Angel Rock. That's when I'm going to have a guest. And this Monday coming up, we are having back Tom Dongo. So if there's anything to do with Bradshaw Ranch, his name will be associated. He's very spiritual. I'm gonna try and see if I can get him to talk about his remote viewing method. He's taught courses. He's knows Dogman. You guys love him when he's on, and he was supposed to come on in October, and he had to reschedule, so he's coming on Monday. Thursday, tomorrow night, actually, beneath the hollow moon, with my very good friend Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, so you can find us on there, social, Facebook, YouTube, all over the place. So. Mm-hmm.
And I think, but at the very least, you got that going. So you got the workshop coming up soon, and you have another special surprise for us, and we'll find out about it.
I have clients too. Like, I have lots of clients in between, right? So I'm usually doing a million different things at once, as most of us are. I'm busier now than when I had little kids. I'm working 3 jobs, just as I'm sure you are.
But and that's the thing, right? Because I do write a science fiction series that is a spiritual adventure. You didn't know that?
No.
Really? Oh yeah.
Well, there you go.
I have a spiritual adventure fantasy series.
I love it.
The people are actually the people who read these books are actually sending me messages. Come on already. Where's number 3? And
I love it.
What you guys don't understand is that I wrote 6 books on Reiki, 2 books on chakras. I created an entire teaching program. And for the teaching
and when you
program,
see how Sonia writes a book, like, I'm not talking one book, like you've shown me like stacks of books taller than you as references. Like, believe me, if Sonia's written a book, and you've got so many incredible books that you've talked about on my show as well. So believe me, she puts her heart and soul into every book.
but that's the thing, right? So if I'm going to write about something, I'm going to research it. I'm going to try to get all the different perspectives, and I'm going to try to bring it together for people. So that takes time, and that kind of took priority because Spirit is saying this is really important, that you'll get to the fantasy. Just, we need you to finish this. This needs to be completed. And I was so sick last year. I'm really behind schedule, but I'm much better now, and I'm back. I'm writing, every day, so I should be able to finish them all this year. So
I still have to finish my 3 books too, by the way, that I've been talking about forever. And Spirit reminds me every couple of days, like, are you going to get those books written yet? I've got the outlines and everything, so that's on hopefully the agenda for this year, to at least get a good start on them too.
Mm-hmm. Well, my thing this year was, well, you know what? I'll go in the office, I'll start. And I've been able to do that because I've been so sick. I couldn't even come to the office, right? So I'm like, if I do 2 hours, I'll do 2 hours. And sometimes I make it to 4, so I'm actually accomplishing a lot more than I expected. But yeah, so we are busy. I teach classes. I have clients. I'm doing the podcast. We're all over the place, right? So yeah, we don't just sit on our thumbs, do nothing, and just roll
don't even know what it looks like.
So, I'm 100% behind you.
Yeah.
Well, unless anybody has any questions they'd like to ask us, I mean, we try to answer them as we go because it's always, easier to catch them as we go. But if there's no more questions coming up, I'd say this is a wrap.
Well, thank you for having me. You know what? I didn't know if I was going to make it today, and I said, "That's it," because everything was status quo. Yeah, I'll be there Wednesday, and then, like I said, with the hubby coming home today, and I just said, "Nope, it's happening." So I got everything out of the way. I got it ready, and I'm glad I came on. This has been very enjoyable. To a stressful day, it's been a great evening. So thank you.
A great way to wrap it up. Well,
yes.
I think as my first guest on the show, I couldn't have picked better. So well, I'm very grateful to you for actually. I know how busy you've been and everything has been going on for you. So I appreciate you, and I'm very grateful for coming and for everybody listening. So, like I said, mine are once a month, at every last Wednesday of the month, and we will meet different people from different fields in spirituality and try to introduce you guys to as many people as I can this year, so that you get to see different aspects of it, and maybe one of them will be, oh, well, that's the one I need.
That's
right?
the person.
So that's the idea for this year. So thank you very much, everybody, and see you end of February, and we'll have Julie Bassett on the show. So you guys,
love it.
A lot of you know her already, so that's my next guest. Thank you very much.
Awesome. I love it. I'll be watching.